Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 3 series of professional StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Zerg. We're in the bottom left hand corner on the first map of the day, playing with the blue Zerg drones. From Canada, we have none other than Scarlett. Her opponent all the way in the opposite corner of the map, joined by the little fairy spinning around on the main CC. We have Percival. Now it's been a little bit since I've last had a look at a Percival game. I know that in general, in 2025, he seems to have gotten quite a bit better, actually. So it's going to be nice to get an update as to where he currently is at. Now, of course, I've casted quite a few of Scarlett's games again over the last few weeks. She's been playing in more and more tournaments as of late. This particular series is actually from a Wardy 3... No, hold up. Let me get the exact name. So the reason I'm stumbling over my words is because this tournament is called the LowkoTV European League. Canada, Korea, whatever. I'm not exactly sure as to what the rules of this particular event are, but this series was played very recently. Wardy, though, he puts on a ton of tournaments, and I guess in general, you are allowed to play, right? You are allowed to play. I'm guessing it probably takes place on the European server, or maybe in like a European like time frame, right? Like a time slot that works well for all of the European pros. Either way, most StarCraft 2 pro gamers, as we all know, have terrible sleeping schedules as it is. So it shouldn't really matter all too much. It's going to be a hedge gas pool right here for Scarlett. Looks like it will be a barracks expand here for Percival. So he's going to be going for the SCV scout. We already have a rally point though, so the SCV really just checking whether or not there is a hatchery building, at which point it is going to return straight back home. This is really just to make sure that the Reaper's path is going to be clear. Sometimes if you go up against a spawning pool first, the Zerg player will be quite annoying with the way that they maneuver their Zerglings to your side of the map, and then suddenly the command center is in trouble. So this way, you at the very least get confirmation that it is indeed a hatchery as the very first structure. As a matter of fact, Scarlett is now also following this up with a really nice and quick third hatchery. So she scouted the timing right there of the opponent's hatch. The Terran hatchery, that is. And then she pulled the drones out of gas nice and early. So we are at 84 gas right now. Only a single worker is mining it. This could sometimes be a bit of a problem. Say you go up against like a double barracks opener with a lot of Reaper production. This would actually be kind of a problem because you just don't have Zergling speed anytime soon. But with this sort of setup, you should be able to start up link speed right about right now. Right about right now? Scarlett? Yo, can somebody take... Just knock her on the shoulder or something. She forgot Zergling speed. Maybe we're going straight roaches. I'm not exactly sure. Just a little tap would do. Okay, well, normally you start up Zergling speed with this delayed opener at this point in time, so you can finish up Zergling speed by the time that 4 Hellions are out. So this is going to be Hellion 1 and 2. Zergling speed in this particular game is not going to be done in time, so I'm guessing we're going roaches. Yeah, this is a Zergling-less opener right here from Scarlett, just defending with roaches and with queens. Technically a little bit risky, of course, but she's already cutting quite a few corners, and it seems to me that she's getting away with it for now. Nothing all too crazy here for Percival. Percival opening up triple CC Hellion Benchy. The Fairy, by the way, on the command center is the name of his team. So the team is called Little Fairy. I'm not exactly sure why, but I kind of love it. Excellent esports name. I'm not gonna lie. The Shopify Rebellion. I mean, that's a cool word. You know, we have like Team Liquid. We have all these, well, old school esports organizations. Little Fairy. A little bit of a different vibe. Yep, so the roaches indeed are gonna come up, and as long as we have some sort of spore crawler defense, which should start up in the next 10-15 seconds or so, as long as she goes for a few of them, she should be okay against everything. Roaches for the Hellions. And then, of course, we have Spore Crawlers and Queens for, well, also the Hellions. But then, most importantly, those Benchies. It looks like it's going to be a bio-based army on the back of this for Percival. So far, Scarlett actually not yet going for them. Latest time is usually about 450 for a Zerg player. That way, you line it up with the cloaking field finishing up inside of that tech lab over here. Dang, she's really, she's cutting a lot of corners. There, finally, is a single Spore Crawler coming up. Second one in the main. And a third one, actually, as well. Okay, so every mineral line will be protected. Fourth hatchery come up together with a lair. Yeah, Scarlett basically playing the most greedy variant of this early game, and I think she's getting away with all of it. Look at the creep spread already. I mean, I say this every single time I cast a Scarlett series, but rarely do we see a lot of Zerg players put this much emphasis on creep spread, and I kind of love it. Look at it. It's already all the way over here. I don't even know if the Hellions have ever been in that section of the map. This is why the Hellions, though, are so important, right? So if you compare this Hellion control here, if I can be critical of Percival for just a second, usually we see the Terran players being very active, denying as many creep tumors as possible. So Scarlett really just spreading them a tiny little bit, making sure the Hellions can't get the snipe. Yeah, that one, I think the Hellions already should have been in position to make sure that it's going to be, well, much easier to deny. Because if you don't, suddenly that creep is going to cover the halfway point and it becomes incredibly difficult to stop. Banshee's also outmaneuvered here by the Queens. Spore Crawler in position to detect the top section over here of that mineral line, and then the Queens with that Overseer. I mean, it's all extremely slim margins. Finally, we found a bit of an angle, it seems, but if a Banshee goes down... Ooh. Alright, well, maybe the Hellions can actually make this all a little bit better. Drones themselves have decided to go in for the attack. 5 workers for 2 Banshees and 6 Hellions is a terrible trade for Terran. One of the absolute worst trades that you can go for. Now, lucky here for Percival, though, this Zergling speed is still super late. Obviously, Scarlett decided to skip it. I've got a feeling if you give up that many units and Zerg does have Zergling speed done, we're gonna see like a big flood of Roach Ravager Zergling move across the map. Since link speed is not an option here for Scarlett until a while from now, she will probably just let this slide and use this as an opportunity to just, well, continue setting up that map dominance. So, 4th hatchery is gonna get saturated. We've got ourselves a hive, more than likely coming up in just a moment. The roaches are really just a stepping stone to transition towards Ling Bane, at least in the majority of the games, and I think that will probably be the case here as well, as soon as Baneling speed is done here for the Canadian Zerg. So there's the hive started up on the production tab. Yeah, some nice targeting here by Percival. Still getting quite a bit of damage here out of those Marines, but I mean, they don't even have combat shields yet, right? Like, all of it just feels a bit delayed. And every time that Percival goes home, creep spread will just continue moving around. So already, I mean, this is some rapid-fired creep tumors over here. I've got a feeling that the Queen is not going to have enough energy to place down 17 tumors in the exact same spot. Either way, here we go again. This time around, we do have combat shields. 1-1 is done. Stimpack, of course, also finished. Couple infestors, by the way, on the production tab, already just about to hatch. I think this should be a pretty easy cleanup for Scarlett, but you can never really, well, underestimate this type of army from the Terran. I don't know if the infestors have been spotted yet, but if Percival doesn't see them, Scarlett can just catch them off guard. And there we go. Good fungal coming in. Corrosive Bowels will be landed on the tank here up north. And I do believe, indeed, that with all of the rest of the units spawning, yep, Zerg is going to have an easy time cleaning this up. And immediately, upon that army of the Terran backing off, we see a bunch of creep tumors going down once more. New hatchery on the left side of the map is done. We've got ourselves an Ultra Cavern building up as well. And none of the attacks of Percival have really worked out particularly well so far. 4th Command Center, though, is here. The economy of Percival is still pretty much unhindered, and the 2-2 upgrades is at an appropriate time. So even though nothing's really worked out great here for the Terran player, this is still a, well, winnable game for sure. But if I had to pick an advantage at this point in time, it would certainly be for the Zerg player. Medevac drop trying to go in around the side. In the meantime, there's an attack happening over here too. Plenty of army for the Zerg, and you can kind of feel that for Percival, things are starting to become a bit tricky, right? I mean, where do you attack? Everywhere you go, there's creep spread and there's Zerg units waiting. And you know that it's gonna be just Ling, Roach, Ravager for the time being, but very soon it will be Ultralisks as well. Now, Ultras are, of course, not Zerg's best unit, but they can hit very hard if you don't have a proper counter. Planetary Fortress, though, is gonna make life a little bit better here for the Terran player. Does he have the numbers? That's the question. There's already so much Zerg. Engaging at the planetary, though, is a little bit flimsy. Yeah, I wonder if this is an overextension here by Scarlett. She's sending in more units right now, but that planetary has been brilliant so far. Lots of SCVs did die, but the planetary lives, getting 14 kills all on its own and tanking a stupid amount of damage too. I think if Scarlett would have done a similar engagement, a little bit closer to the third, life would have been way better. Okay. Well, the Ultralisks are coming now. That was a little bit expensive for the Terran. Not cheap at all, though, for the Zerg either. Looks like Percival actually smashed his piggy bank, decided to go straight into the 3-3. Man, the creep spread is still so nice. I really love the emphasis on creep. It's so strong. Like, look, Percival would love to send out a medevac or two and immediately engage on this base. But you're just spotted from like 3 screens away because the creep is so far forward. Okay, a new command center coming up. Widow mines are building. Got the Overlord speed. And all of the other upgrades that are just gonna make this army better and better and better for the Zerg. That being said though, this is the type of army that maxes out pretty quick. So obviously Scarlett is very tech heavy. When these upgrades on the production tab are done, this army is basically maxed out, right? It doesn't really get much better. This is gonna be do or die for Percival though, but if he can stay alive, his army should still improve quite a bit moving forward. Now here we go. Scarlett is ready to send it, trying to come in from as many different angles as possible. A very cinematic engagement for sure. Planetary Fortress once more, really nice to have, but now it is going to be targeting those Ultralisks, and the Ultralisks, while their damage is maybe not amazing, they are extremely tanky. Still though, some nice kiting here from Percival, forcing the Zerg to go around the site. Corrosive Biles are going to finish up the Planetary Fortress itself, and it looks like Scarlett decides to back up for the time being. Ghost production has kicked in now. +3/+3, still cooking up. Sure, we had a 5th command center. It's going to be turned into a 4th command center instead. Love this little Zergling run by though. Yep, forcing a council on the new CC just to slow down the Terran some more. Scarlett's able to quickly remax, and that's basically the entire idea of this type of Zerg army. Get a huge economy, never really take particularly cost-effective trades, but just make it so that the, well, Terran player can't really stop the flood. You don't have to trade effectively as long as you have the numbers advantage. And that's exactly what the goal is of this type of Zerg army. So we'll probably see continuous trades. Liberator production, though, is here now too. Those upgrades, the 3-3, it's finishing. And it will be done for this engagement. Still, a 50 supply or so lead here for Scarlett. She's trying to force all of those units through that choke point. It's a little bit risky. In the meantime, the Zerglings working away at the engineering base. If only they were just a few seconds sooner. Looks like there was a little bit of a command center block as well up north. Fungal growth, though, on the Ghosts. And this is a brilliant game number 1 right here for Scarlett as she obtains what looks like an easy victory. Alrighty. Next up, oh, Percival. A little bit of a messed up split there on the SCVs. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Ultra Love. Yeah, so what exactly went wrong right there for the Terran player? Well, it's lots of little things. StarCraft 2 tends to be... Alright. StarCraft 2 tends to be a very momentum-based game, especially this matchup, and especially the style that Percival ended up going for. And when you don't get a lot of value out of your Hellions, the creep threat isn't really halted, they just sort of die while killing like a few workers, but that's about it. And then on top of that, you also lose the Banshees. Even if your build is super greedy and you go for that super fast 3rd command center, you just fall behind when the opponent also plays a pretty greedy build. So it's all about being greedy in the early game, but then also to make sure that you don't actually, you know, lose anything unnecessarily and get a lot of value out of the units that you do have. It's difficult. A lot of it, though, can be traced back all the way to the first 5 minutes of the game, because it's much more difficult for Zerg, for example, right, to transition into Ultralisks when the Terran is ahead. When the Terran is ahead, well, you might just be making Ultras, and you will find yourself already attacking when the Ghosts are out. And it's just... It's an entirely different game. So the first 5 minutes of the game have to be very clean for Percival, and preferably you deal some sort of damage. Which is why it's so impressive when you see the likes of like Clem, and you notice how much value they can get out of their first just a handful of units. Alternatively, you can play a slower approach, so a lot of Terran players go for a different style. You could also go for like a 3-base all-in, for example, but when you're gonna try and mimic the style that Clem plays, but then you do it quite a bit worse than he does, the previous game is what ends up happening. Margin for error is extremely small. And it's difficult. It's one of the many frustrations that a lot of StarCraft players deal with, right? Because you look at the timings and you look at like your upgrades finishing, for example, and you compare it to what pro gamers do, and you're like, well, I'm only like 10 seconds off. I'm basically perfect. But then you don't quite notice the exact amount of value that you've gained, right? It's difficult to like quantify creep spread. It's very easy to look at resources lost and be like, well, less minerals lost is better. But creep spread, momentum, not as easy to display. Okay. Command center on the low ground. Command center inside of the main base. Percival playing it nice and greedy here once again. I've been quite impressed actually by Scarlett lately. I feel like she's playing quite a bit better than a few months ago. Not that a few months ago she was playing poorly, but there is... You know, when you don't play for a little while, you can definitely tell that a player is a bit rusty. It's a lot of the little things that just don't seem to be so smooth and nothing really lines up very well. That previous game was textbook. That's exactly the type of game you want to be seeing. Okay, triple CC, Hellion Banshee for Percival. At least that's what it's looking like. We can also go Stimpack and maybe make like a Liberator instead. But it's gonna be mostly the same. Maybe a variation on the same theme. If I have to be critical of Scarlett games, the few ZVTs I have seen her play, and maybe... I mean, maybe this is just the games that I've watched, but she does seem to go for the same style almost every time. And while that style is strong, I've got a feeling, like we see it from a lot of Zerg players right now. That style is strong, but it seems like a lot of Terran players are just not really respecting it very much. Like, you pretty much can see the Ultralisk coming in from like a mile away, but then we never really see any Terran players actually make a decision that would be good against Ultras until after the Ultras are out. I find it a little bit odd. It's kind of like the main style that they go for. Oh my god, here we go again. Percival hoping for the best. This is risky though, because if you lose these units as well... I mean, again, momentum, right? Great surround here-ish, sort of. Nah, this is still fantastic for Zerg. Ultimately, it's 8 Zerglings for 3 Hellions, but momentum, right? That's the big one. Momentum here in favor of the Zerg for sure. Now, Scarlett doesn't really need to make that many links. She can just sit on these Zerglings and make a whole lot of drones and really use that larva mechanic to her advantage, although a little bit of a supply block. New barracks coming up. 2 more. Yeah, and one of the creep tumors here does die, but already new queens are, well, ready to put down some new creep tumors. Spore crawlers. Reasonable time again. Looks like 450. Lair coming up together with the double evolution chamber. So this, by the way, is a bit of a different setup than the previous game. Scarlett opting to go for a Zergling speed build rather than Roach speed, which I assume also means that we're gonna be seeing a Baneling nest here in just a moment. It's really the only thing that makes sense, unless she's really ready to be greedy, but what if Terran goes for an 8 Rex? And that may very well be what we are looking at right now. Not yet. But this is an awful lot of production here for Percival already. So a lot of Terran players lately have been going for 3-base 8 Rex, where they put down 8 Rexes and then they just pump out a stupid amount of Marines. Maybe that's why the infestors are made, right? To try and prevent that from, like, overwhelming? Oh, what? Oh, really? It's straight +1 missile into a straight Hydra, then. Okay. So, it's gonna be Hydraling? No Bane? No melee upgrades? Normally you go for, as we have another big surround here. This looks to me like a bit of an experimental build. It reminds me of a game I saw at Home Story Cup from Elaser, where Elaser was doing like pure Hydra, which was really odd. I think it was Elaser. Like 3 Queen, pure Hydra on like 3 bases. I mean, this is a phenomenal start again for Scarlett. Can't really ask for much more. Yeah, we're basically just rushing out Hydralisks. Okay. Not sure what to make of it, to be honest. There's barracks 6, 7, and 8, by the way. So this is exactly what I was trying to point out. This is going to be an 8-Rex, 3-base all-in from Percival. And Scarlett will not have any splash damage to try and deal with that attack. It's a great map for it too. On Ultra Love, your 3rd base is in line with that of the Zerg. So like the distance from the Terran's 3rd base to the Zerg's 3rd base is pretty short. So you can actually make your way across really quickly. Maybe if Scarlett makes a few infestors immediately, she's gonna be able to like catch the Terran player off guard, but it's effectively just gonna be Hydralisks. And I don't really have a lot of faith in this type of army composition, but we'll see. 12 Marines are being pumped out, and look at that. Not even any add-ons produced here on the barracks. That means that Percival wants to go really soon. 2-2 does start up here as well for the Terran. We have the combat shields coming up, but basically the only reason you don't want to go for add-ons is because you just need to get the production going right here, right now. As long as Percival doesn't get his entire army fungled, life should be okay. Looks like Scarlett had a little bit of a skirmish over here with some Marines. That Zergling run by not achieving much. How in the world is Mass Hydra... Oh no, one of the siege tanks just unsieged. But how in the world is Mass Hydra going to stop an 8-Rex? I don't know. I don't think it will. Yeah, no, I don't, yeah, hey, they're a fungal, yay. Maybe? I mean, if Scarlett holds on, her economy is booming right now. 82 versus 63 workers. Obviously, the idea is to get those infestors going instead of the banelings, right? So you can maybe, like, hit a big fungal and then slow all of this down. Execution here from Percival is not ideal, but I think it might just be good enough. Still though, Zerg is flooding out a ton of units as well, so I love this. A little hit squad of units to try and intercept some of the reinforcements is really good. You know what? The Hydra numbers are growing quickly. What a messy way to fight. So the reason why I'm a little hesitant is usually if the fights get dragged out, like, if the fights take a little while, usually that benefits Terran players a lot. Because Zergs usually have, like, well, Lings and Banes, and those units are very high damage, very low sustain. This is a great little skirmish, though, for Percival, getting a whole lot of Hydras just like that. The units here from the Zerg player are currently split up. We do have a Hive come up together with, I mean, I would imagine a Lurker Den. I wonder if maybe Lair Tech Lurkers here would be better. Big power spike though for Terran. 2-2 is now finished. I feel like this is making it unnecessarily difficult for Scarlett. I love this little fight though. Percival gets the 5th. There is already a new base in the far bottom right. Siege tanks though in brilliant positions here for Percival, making it pretty much impossible for the Zerg player here to engage. A lot of drones hiding behind the mineral line, and it looks like they are going to be able to get the job done. Percival on sieges, but not to go home. Percival is smelling blood in the water right now. Yep. He's killed 1 hatchery. Now he's killed 2 hatcheries. Here's some of those reinforcements coming in, though. It's a little bit messy, but it's now going to be a flank upon a flank upon a flank. That moment when the sandwicher becomes the sandwichy. I don't even know if that's a correct sentence, but anyways. Siege tanks in the meantime left by themselves. Scarlett didn't really lose any workers, but she's losing so many freaking Hydras. GG. Okay, next up, we find ourselves on Tokamak. SCV Scout did go ahead of the Reaper once more. It's going to be a hedge gas pool here from Scarlett. And we'll probably have a triple CC Hellion Benchy opener here, judging by the fact that we only have a single gas geyser here taken for Percival for now. Quick third for Scarlett as well, so she's going to be able to get that base up and running here. And will we go Zergling speed, or are we going to go straight Roaches? Yeah, I think that previous game was a bit of an experimental strategy from Scarlett. Mass Hydra, I mean, it was close to being good, right? Like, we were pretty close to that being held. But ultimately, it's like a 3-base all-in-ish for Terran. You can transition out of it, I suppose. So it's somewhat all-in. It's definitely, let's call it dedicated pressure. You need to deal some sort of damage with it for that to be justified. But yeah, ultimately, the amount of marine production was just a little bit too high. So maybe if there were Banelings, or maybe if there were more Infestors, or if we saw a Lurker then instead of a Hive. So you can make Lurkers at Lair Tech. It's just that what makes Lurkers really good are those Hive Tech upgrades. But obviously when Terran is going for a 3 command center all-in, they don't have that many scans available, so they can't really detect that frequently. So even if you have a couple of Lair Tech Lurkers, I think that's more useful against an Aetherx all-in than dying with a Hive done. But I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. But if I can think out loud, I think a Lurker Den would have been better there than a Hive. Maybe skip the Infestation Pit as well. Just go straight Lurkers. A little bit of a dance here. So far, by the way, I really haven't liked Percival's early game. In the 2 games we've seen, the Hellions and the Banshees just sort of died. They didn't really deal a lot of damage. The creep threat wasn't hindered. There's a single Reaper going down. Not the end of the world at all, but it doesn't really inspire confidence. Quite a predictable Terran playstyle for now. Then again, Hellion Benchy doesn't really have any real weaknesses. Ay. I forgot about this. I haven't looked around Tokamak in a while. What is this? You know, like in some countries, you have like this like rattlesnake liqueur or whatever, where they put like a snake or a scorpion or whatever in alcohol. Is that what this is? Or are they doing some weird experiments on Lenny? Roaches are here again. Zergling speed has been delayed. It'll probably be a lair. Okay. What if we do this style and then go into Hydras? I wonder. I would like to see that actually. Rather than link speed first, open Roaches first with a slightly faster Hive. And then obviously you can play Roach Hydra instead of, well, pure Hydra. Which just doesn't really... Roach Hydra could also work. Okay. The 2 Banshees go in. One of them already has taken quite a bit of damage. I don't even know how. Killed nothing. Overseer is going to be here in just a moment. I don't like that targeting. No. There's the Hellions again, though. Basically, the goal of this strategy for Percival is to try and distract as much as possible and then YOLO the units in. This is by far the most successful YOLO, though, throughout this series. Yeah. I still... Okay, well, obviously, this is well worthwhile, but I also think this was mismanaged by Scarlett. I still don't think the YOLO in the mineral line is the way to go at a high level, but hey, if you can get 14 kills every time, it is certainly worthwhile. Stimpback coming up together with the 1-1 again. Additional barracks are here. Infestation Pit, nice and quickly again for Scarlett, so no Hydra shenanigans this time. The creep spread is still looking monstrous. And obviously it's not going to be halted anytime soon either, now that there are no more Hellions and Banshees out on the map. If you look at the way that, for example, Clem controls his Hellion Banshee, so this entire playstyle here, I keep bringing up Clem, but it's basically the exact style that Clem goes for. And Clem does it better than anybody else. Clem pretty much always keeps the units around and then gets a stupid amount of value out of those units as well as the game progresses. I think it's also due to the fact, though, that a lot of the top-level players just don't allow a lot of damage in their mineral lines like that. Like, that was a bit unfortunate for Scarlett. Losing 14 drones is not something you're going to be able to reliably get against, like, a Serral or a Rainer, I don't think. Or a Scarlett, for that matter. Like, I think Scarlett usually does a better job defending it. Either way, the age of the Hellion Banshee Reaper is over. And soon the Roaches are also likely to be traded out for something a little bit better, although they can probably still roam the battlefield for a few more minutes. No Zergling speed yet, though. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we're just actually going to go for, like, a full-on attack. There is a... Yep, there we go. A fungal growth available. Cool guys don't look at corrosive biles. That engagement was directed by Michael Bay. You love to see it. +2 coming up. Would love to see the +2 carapace as well here for those Terran units. The +2 armor. Very important, actually, to not miss out on that one. Fungal. Infestor's a little far forward, but again, cool guys don't look at explosions. The Infestors did get targeted, though. Nice work there by Percival. Okay. This is going to hurt. Percival forgetting the +2 infantry armor is going to slow everything down. Scarlett finding herself here with a 50 supply. There we go, finally. Scarlett now finding herself with a 50 supply advantage. Zergling speed is late, though. Ultra Cavern will be the weapon of choice again. I'm assuming we're just gonna go Roaches then. Yeah, she realized just now that Zergling speed isn't here when she made a bunch of Zerglings. That's the worst time to find out about it, but anyways, it's okay. Vipers coming up. We haven't actually seen them yet throughout this particular series. The dance continues up on towards the high ground here, so Percival taking up a pretty strong position. But already, the creep spread has passed the halfway point. Baneling. It's going to be a unit that Scarlett will be able to produce here in just a moment. I like the Widow Mines here quite a bit, although it feels a little early. All of the corrosive biles missed, though, this time around. Yeah, it's a weird situation where +1 melee finishes up right at the same time as, well, the metabolic boost, the speed. There we go. Ghost Academy. On the production tab, too. But there will be a moment again where Ultras are out, and there will not be a reliable counter for Terran just yet. But look, compared to, like, the first game in the series that had very similar strategies for the both of them, Percival has done way more damage in the early game because of that, well, jump into the third base mineral line. Now suddenly, there will be Ghost at the very least as like an option as soon as the Ultras are spotted. So like the entire momentum of the game is shifted, and this is a misrally as well. Obviously a lot of those engagements in isolation are always difficult to compare, but okay. No more fungal in this particular fight, but there will be a Blinding Cloud. Keep in mind, Blinding Cloud though affects the map, meaning that if any Ravagers are underneath it, it will also reduce their range to 1. But now the Ghosts are coming out already. And I like this a lot. I think the Ghosts here are much better timed. Percival still sort of stuck in his opening quadrant. It'll be quite difficult to to secure a new base, but this is the most logical next one. And then this over here would be the one to come after that. Still though, we have the skirmish going on here as well. Could have killed the Ultra, I think. Will kill the Ultra. Good micro. In the meantime, fight down south as well. And I love this for Percival. Moving in and actually getting some multi-pronged damage done. A lot of command centers are building here though, and obviously they're not yet done. I think a lot of them will also fall. 400 minerals down the drain right over there. In the meantime, we have, in a mirrored location on the other side of the map, an Ultralisk dying, a hatchery falls. Looks like this command center for now will stay alive. Reinforcing Ultras are here. Man, transfuses are good, but not good enough. Oh, Scarlett trying to get the one hero Ultra, but it's not gonna be enough damage to keep this Terran army at bay. Okay. Okay. Those Ultras just sort of popped. And that was without really a proper counter to them just yet. Marauders are still not a bad choice. Ghosts, though, are going to be coming out here in just a moment, and I'm assuming we'll see Liberators as well in the future if the game goes on long enough. And once we get up to, like, Ultra Liberator, with some Siege Tanks, Widow Mines, Marine Marauder, I mean, at that point, the Ultras just really don't seem to do that much. Nidus Network is going to be another great option, though, here for Scarlett. If she can, for example, get a Nidus inside of the main base, she might be able to overwhelm the Terran here with full-on aggression. That being said, nice cancel here again by Percival. There's a fight as well happening up north, or at the very least a scan. Percival trying to get rid of some of the creep spread in this section of the map. Just sort of YOLO running in. Bailing speed now is going to be a weapon of choice. Scarlett going in for the counterattack rather than actually defending against those units. Okay. So that means that one of the bases will fall. Bailing speed not yet done, though, so most of the SCVs will slip away. Another fight is happening at the other side of the map as Percival is not backing off. That is the third hatchery also falling, and that was certainly a good exchange for Percival. Even though not every unit is gonna have room in the plane. Sorry, guys. Not enough medevacs. But that was effectively 2 bases lost on the side of the Zerg versus, well, a bunch of SCVs. But the command center itself stayed alive. Scarlett still with the supply advantage, but the Widow Mines here in a nice position. Planetary Fortress as well, obviously as the main weapon of choice. A Parasitic Bomb, though, it's gonna force a split, but nice splitty right there from Percival. Making it so that the medevac doesn't deal too much damage there to its friends. Good snipe. 6 hatcheries on the production tab. What the heck? Rarely do we see 6 hatcheries on the production tab. Scarlett is taking every base. She's taken literally every base on her side and then one more. I don't think she's really anticipating all of them finishing up, but I guess if you have to cancel 1 or 2, that's still going to be okay. Yeah, so the idea is to effectively continue the flood. Good EMP, good snipe. I think the idea is to continue the flood. Percival, though, going for a much more, well, deathball-y type of approach. Still struggling, keeping everything going here. A lot of command centers are building, and that is going to create that iron bank. Once you get up to like a dozen orbital commands, it is difficult to be surprised by anything, because you can just scan everywhere you go, and you can drop a lot of mules as well to quickly mine out a new base. These fights have been well managed by Percival over the last few minutes. Units lost are closer than I would like them to be for Terran. Percival losing a little bit more, I think, than is necessary, but as long as the army size graph is nothing too crazy, Terran can eventually slow push their way to new bases. I think this expansion is the logical next one, and then maybe the one over here in the top left. Scarlett might be out mining Percival for now, but as long as Percival can get like half of the map eventually, that will be good enough. Again, thinking about cost efficiency. If both players have mined 50% of the map, and Terran takes more effective trades, like what we have been seeing so far, well, it should create an advantage for Terran in the long run. Love this, though. Nidus Worm in the back. As the Terran, well, spreads themselves out all over the map, it's difficult to actually get units back into the main base. Nothing inside of the Worm. But it is going to send a lot of units back. In the meantime, a big fight happening again over at the third. Scarlett engaging in the only location that is attackable without a planetary fortress nearby. I would have loved to see Percival actually make a planetary in this area. SCVs are going to die, though, and again, this position is going to be given up on. Spire, probably mostly just to get the Corruptors out. A reliable choice against medevacs, but also potential Liberators. Although we haven't really seen them yet. I think Liberators would be a really nice addition. Okay. Now this upgrade was of course late. But eventually the +3 infantry armor is going to finish up. It's because those upgrades were out of sync earlier. First of all, getting some missile turrets here and some sensor towers and all the rest of it.
Upgrade complete.
Slow pushing his way forward. There is an infestor nearby. Can't see it right now, but of course missile turrets are detectors. Zerglings are available now. Siege tank, though, also set up in the main base. Marine drop on the other side of the mineral line, and it looks like there's another fight happening as well all the way on the left. Parasitic bomb over there is nice. Fungal growth is nice as well, but I like this attack here quite a bit better for Percival. Percival not backing up again. There are some libs up right now, though, and they're going to make defending here a little bit easier. Corrosive Biles not quite in the perfect spot. Some nice stutter step control here by the South Korean Terran player as he's trying to back up and, well, absolutely massacre the Ultralisks. Looks like the fight over here also did not go poorly. Looks like the fight over here also killed a hatch. Percival fighting in 3 different fronts at the same time and winning in every single location. Lovely. Lovely aggression here. Rarely do we see 3 fights and then 1 player winning all 3 of them. Blinding Clouds, Fungal Growths, all of it is nice. But Scarlett is not really getting the traits anymore here in these engagements that she was hoping for. A drop in the main base. Percival loaded the units inside of the medevac and sends them into the main. I mean, that's one way of getting them in there, you know? Don't worry about Nidus worms. Okay, and suddenly, look at the traits. Suddenly, this is booming here. 5,000 minerals more lost is huge, especially considering Percival now has 5 orbital commands. 1 command center as well that can still be morphed in, although I think it's going to be growing a little planetary fortress on top of itself. 21 drones have died, though. Ooh. Percival suddenly stepped his foot on the gas. I really like how Percival does not back up in the middle of those big fights. I think a lot of Terran players have been hurt by burrowed banelings and hidden infestors and all the rest of it. So a lot of Terran players don't really enjoy that mass multitasking all over the place, especially on creep. But Percival navigating that really, really nicely. APM at 471 for Terran, 650, well, on average for Zerg, although, of course, little bit of APM inflation. Fungal growth here could be big. Well, I mean, it is going to be big as well like that. Not bad whatsoever. Fight over here, going quite nicely. Banelings now coming in around the back as well. The Ultras chomping their way through everything, and despite the fact that Scarlett just seemed to defend by the skin of her teeth, just about 30 seconds later is ready to go for a fight again. Those Ultralisks popping out of their cocoons make life once more manageable here. Command Center got cancelled. Orbital Command did get lifted. Liberators, though, are really, really nice to have. Okay. So as the dust settles, who is ahead in this particular moment of the game? I like this position quite a bit better for Terran. The orbital commands are just such a solid backbone here. And considering the Zerg economy is not really that great either. Man, did we really pick the empty medevac? Alright. Like, it's got like 5 HP and no energy. Alright. Yeah, well, immediately punished. But I like this position a little bit better for Terran. Even though this is a difficult spot to read, I think Percival understands the current state of the game really well. I would love to see like a single Liberator going around the site. Maybe to harass instead of those like medevac drops. Maybe that's exactly what we have over here with a Liberator going in. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. It's a lot less APM intense, and I think if we give the game a time to breathe here, it's fine for Terran. Scarlett, though, trying to figure out the position that she's in right now, right? So you know your economy is still pretty good, but you also know that the traits haven't been phenomenal. So she decides to drone back up to 86. Liberator now in the bottom right-hand corner. There are a few Corruptors out, but this is still annoying for the Zerg to have to deal with. Yeah, Corruptors are good, but it takes forever for them to actually kill one if it's a one-on-one fight. 9 drones have died. A little bit of a multi-pronged push again on the left side of the map too. I mean, she has a lot of drones, but where are they all? I think we must be oversaturating some of those bases quite heavily. Maybe a bunch of the drones are also set up around the map. Either way, for now our income is fine. But obviously with the way that the game has been progressing, Terran should have more fresh bases closer by. Like this base is still unmined. And the same for the one over here on the right side. Where Scarlett basically has a bunch of, well, a good amount of drones here. She has a good income. But these mineral fields are going to dry up over the next 5 to 10 minutes. Here go the Corruptors again. Shutting down some of this medevac drop. I like it. Push over here again on the right side of the map. Scan gets spotted, so Scarlett decides to move in right now with the Ultralisks. Still though, yeah, despite the fact that there's no real counter here to those Ultras in the mix, it's still a very scary Terran army. No Liberators, no Ghosts, but it does not matter. Reinforcing Terran units show up. Parasitic Bomb on one of the Medivacs, kind of unnecessary. Fungal Growth though, quite nice. Those Ultras are just melting, but the Zerglings coming in. Keep in mind that the Zergling DPS is extremely high. Looks like one of the pincer claws right there of the Ultras just ran away. For some reason it flew across my screen. Hatchery falls though. Percival stims again. He doesn't have enough HP on most of those Terran units to be able to stim a second time around, but he's gonna try and keep this going. Beautiful Blinding Cloud though from Scarlett, making it pretty much impossible for those units to, well, keep fighting. So whatever is possible, Percival loaded into the Medivacs and evacuated on out of there. Okay. 85 drones still for the Zerg. But I think for the first time here, we may be evening this up in a little bit. It depends on how many mules are mining. Well, there's a new batch of them in the top left-hand corner. I think once this updates, it'll be quite good for the Terran player. And I like this too. Percival actually moving on over. This was a base that was previously mined by the Zerg player. Scarlett is once more going to try and set up a hatchery right over here. A little bit awkward when both of you are fighting for the same mineral fields. Just land it next to it, Percival. Just put it right over here. I'm sure Scarlett wants to share. A little bit of a Widowmine drop as well. I kind of love it, but at this point the Corruptors are out and they make sniping this easy. Percival might be able to take this expansion over here too. Fighting in the meantime in a mirrored location on the Zerg site and shutting down one of those bases. Hatchery over here dies. Bunch of drones also still long distance mining this spot. Fungal Growth though are once more being used. We have some good EMPs landed by Percival. Ultras once more doing what Ultras do best, and that is dying. Yeah, they tank a bunch of damage as well, but Scarlett notices where this game is headed. And despite the fact that she still has a bunch of resources in the bank, it is just not a spot that you can really continue playing there as the Zerg. So, fantastic series. I really like the commitment there from Percival. I feel like a lot of Terran players, when they're being pushed in, especially by Ultras, they don't actually want to go in for the base trade, right? But we had a couple of instances in this game where Scarlett took out one base by attacking with Ultras, and in the meantime, Percival took out two, sometimes even three. And that ultimately just led to such a big advantage. By the way, the list over here, it's slowly growing. I mean, I just want to point it out, okay? If you want to join them as well, you can head on over to patreon.com/LowkoTV. Thank you very much to everybody on this screen and everybody watching, of course, for supporting the content. Much appreciated.